Alright everyone, welcome back to my channel. In the previous video we have learned how would you install or enable Hyper-V on a nested virtual machine or a nested Azure VM. And as I mentioned, like there are many use cases for it. Like if you would like to simulate on-premises migration, you could do that and then create a few virtual machine and then use Azure Migrate to move it to the cloud. But also it's a support technique, right? So if I want to get a console access of a unhealthy VM we have here, so you could also use nested VM to troubleshoot and fix the issue. So let me just, this is an Azure VM that we have installed the last time, if you remember. And then we named it helper virtual machine. So if you see here from the computer name, you can see here it's helper VM. If I go back here to the Azure portal, this is my helper VM. And then we have a broken VM here. So I basically disabled RDP. So somehow I cannot connect to that VM. So let's say a customer logged in a ticket, said like, hey, we have been using this VM and then suddenly we're not able to RDP or SSH to that VM. So how would you go about it? There are a lot of stuff of course there's ping command. You can check what's happening. Like for me, like if I just go here and then go to that broken VM. So what I'm going to do is I will just go under the boot diagnostics, like here, just to check, okay, they cannot RDP maybe, and there was no changes. Maybe I would ask him about timeline, like when this issue happened. Was there any changes? And then when was the last time it was working, right? So all of this gonna be good to know. There is many ways to get into the VM without using the RDP or the port 3389. But for me, I will just check that screenshot. This is actually capturing from the underlying hardware, right? Like the VM is up and running. There is no network disconnection, right, from here. Then this customer could install an update or maybe installed a firewall on top of the VM and then it's blocking RDP. This could be one issue. The other thing here is maybe the port, the 3389 is not enabled, but in our case here, you can see it is on that VM RDP role or the port is allowed, and then there is an allow action. So to me, the VM is healthy. We can also run troubleshooters and so on, but I know where's the problem, but I just want to show you here if okay, let's just actually try to RDP, right? So I would ask him, is it working on the public and the private IP or MSTSC? And then we could see, okay, that why it's not working. So let me just show you here. So when we use the public IP, it's not working. So that's clearly for me, there is an issue with the underlying operating system. If I use a machine that's within the same subnet or with the same virtual network, I can just try by the private IP as well. Also, it's not working. Okay, so I can also try to ping. Okay, so if I do that and then ping that machine, as you can see, it's not request timeout. All right, I think because that's also another problem is ping is disabled or the ICMP is disabled. But we can do a lot of stuff here to troubleshoot, to see what's going on. But for me, let's say you have a blue screen of death or whatever, you have done a problem and I want to fix that issue. So what I'm going to do now is I will ask the customer to stop the machine. So please stop it. This is the broken VM. And notice here that, if I go down, I can see this is a Windows Server 2025, machine. So we know it's already it's not working and we want to see why it's not working. So what we can do, on a regular on-premises, you could just jump into the console or the Hyper-V or VMware console, and then you can connect to that machine. You can have a console access. We want to simulate the same approach in the Azure side, but you don't have the underlying access to the Hyper-V, like the Microsoft Hyper-V itself. That's what Microsoft manage and own. So you want to have that kind of flexibility. So the way you do it is to create a nested virtual machine, what we have done here, if you didn't see the previous video, I would highly recommend it to see the previous video where we use this document. So basically, how would you enable it? So we run this command like the bcd edit, and then we have enabled the Hyper-V launch type on a supported like, you know, DV3 or V4 like, you know, virtual machine. So you have to make sure that we have also nested virtualization enabled. I will just go back here and just make sure that the broken VM stopped. Yeah, so as you can see now, it stopped successfully. And then here, I will just wait till it reports here also stopped. So I will pause the video and come back. All right, so the virtual machine like stopped successfully. So what we need to do is to create a backup from that disk. So anytime we are going to do something, we always have to create a backup. So what we will do is, following the documentation here, it will ask you to capture that, like to create a snapshot from the OS disk. So what you will do is we go back here, and then we can create a snapshot. So we click on that that guy or that disk. So this is the broken disk, and then we create a snapshot from here. And I want to make sure that it is on the same region, so it's West Europe, as you can see. And then we can say here, this is the healing disk, just to differentiate. And then I want to make like a full make of copy. Okay, so that's gonna be a full copy. And then maybe here I want just to do standard SSD, standard. Okay, that's fine. Standard HDD, locally redundant. That's fine. Well, that's fine. Then what's going to happen here is we are creating a snapshot. So we'll just go ahead and review and create. And then we click create. So what we are doing now is a backup from that disk. And then after we create that backup, we're going to create a disk from that backup and then attach to that VM. So now the backup has been successfully created. It was very quick. So if I go to snapshots, I should be able to see a healing disk here. But notice here it's under snapshots, all right? So you cannot use that yet. So this is just a snapshot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a disk from that snapshot. So I'm going to create new disk, and then here it's asking me, hey, enter the disk name. So I'll just like call it healing OS, and then I will keep it the same. So nothing is going to change here. So next, next. I don't want it as a shared disk. That's fine. So we're not creating a cluster, and then I'm going to create that OS disk. So as you can see, we are recovering or restoring from that backup. So we have now a newer disk. So if I go under disks here, I should be able to see a new disk. So now we have 3 disks. This is the original one, the broken one, which is already attached to a virtual machine. Remember, it's attached to my virtual machine. If I go down here, that status should show attached and detached. Okay, if I go, yeah, it's managed by broken VM. Okay, can you see here? Okay, so broken disk is managed by broken VM. And then we have the healing OS, which is a new one. There is no owner for it. You can see it's minus, right? So that's mean there is no owner. And then we have the helper VM, which is the Hyper-V one. So now if I go back here and then open my this PC, let me just our file explorer. As you can see, we have no disk. This is just the underlying OS disk. This is not like this is a physical disk. We didn't attach yet the secondary one. So what we will do now is we are going to attach this healing OS into the helper VM. So what we will do is we go back to my Hyper-V machine, which is the helper VM, and then I will click on it, and then under disks, I will just add that data disk. So what we do is we're gonna click on the attach existing disk, and then we're gonna select the healing OS. Okay, so it loaded its information. That's fine for me, all good. Then I will just click on apply. Okay, so the disk successfully attached. So we can go back again to the RDP session. The first thing we need to do is to make sure this disk is offline. Okay, we're not gonna online this disk on the operating system. Why? Because when we create a virtual machine here from that disk, you won't be able to see it as a physical disk if it's online. Okay, so from experience, what you just need to do is to go under disk management here, just to validate that this is an offline disk. Okay, so as you can see, disk 2 is attached, but it's not online. If you would like to modify the registry, this is another way also. Without using the Hyper-V, you can actually make it online and then load the registry Hive, which is going to be a different video. We'll talk about how would you modify the registry online without loading the operating system. But for us now, what we need to do is to boot this VM on another VM here and fix the problem. So what we will do now is we are going to create a new virtual machine. So I'm going to click on create new virtual machine and then hit next. This is going to be the broken 02, and then this is the location of the VM. So this is the name. It's saying here I'm going to store the VM information on this one, and then click next. Generation 2. I'm just going to use that startup memory, and then I'm going to use this virtual switch. Here it's asking me to create a hard disk, virtual hard disk. I don't want that. I will say here, I'm not going to create a disk for you. I'm just going to attach this disk later on. So I'll click next and then create my virtual machine. So now this virtual machine doesn't have a disk. So when you try to boot this, it will basically tell you there is no OS disk. Okay. So as you can see, it's booting, but there's nothing gonna happen because there is no disk attached to that VM. So what we will do now is we are going to hover over to the settings menu. Here, again, we will add a SCSI controller here, and then from the SCSI controller we can add a hard disk drive. Okay, and here normally if you want to create a virtual hard disk and then boot up from that OS, that's fine. But what we will do here, instead of selecting the virtual hard disk, we're gonna select the physical hard disk, which is disk 2, which is offline. If this is online, it won't appear here. So that's why you want to make sure that this disk is offline. And it's telling you here, if the physical hard disk you want to use is not listed, make sure that the disk is offline. So use disk management to make sure that this is offline. All right, so that's why we have to make sure it's offline. Now once we apply here, then we will see here that the operating system will boot finally, and then we can go and troubleshoot that problematic VM and see why we cannot remote desktop to that virtual machine. I will just pause and then come back when it's up and running. Okay, another thing that we can see here, it's not booting because the boot order is not properly configured, so we can stop again. It's not working, so what we can do here is go back to settings and then go under firmware, and then here, as you can see, it will start booting from the network first. Now we want to move this up, and I want to boot from the hard disk. It's like any computer when you were modifying the boot order. Now it should use the operating system disk directly, so let's wait and see. So it's loading now. So as you can see, Hyper-V is loading, and then it should boot the operating system, which means is that we are on the right track and we got console access. So now if you are a regular Windows engineer, you would know what to do next is to check, okay, is the RDP services up and running, and so on. What are the RDP settings, if there are any firewall rules enabled. So all of this can be done now directly because you are connecting do that VM without the RDP protocol, so you can actually fix the issue. If there is a blue screen of death, you can actually, instead of doing that, you can go and extract the dump file from the actual disk. You can make it online and then get the logs and then see, okay, what caused the blue screen of death or whatever. But now, as you can see, the VM is booting, so we should be able to see what's going on here. Remember the same screenshot that we have seen is now we are able to get it. So what we can do is to send Control-Alt-Delete from here. I can also stop my machine. I can restart, do all of these. And then from here, I can just enter my password. All right, so let me enter the password. And then let's check what's going on here. Okay, the machine is pretty slow, but as you can see, we can now see why the problem is here is that the remote desktop settings is disabled. Okay, so by default, you have to enable this one. So let's say I'm on Azure here, like this is the helper VM. If I go here, I will see that the local server, the remote desktop here is enabled. If this is disabled, you will lose RDP access on the Azure virtual machine. So what we can do now is, first is we can verify, okay, of course, like you can check the firewall settings and all of this, but I will do another troubleshooting example later on, but we can check also services.msc. So this is where, I think I didn't write it correctly, services, yeah. And this is where you can see if the remote desktop service is enabled or disabled. But here we have to enable this one. So what we can do is also click on remote desktop and then allow remote desktop to that computer. So we'll apply and then click OK. Then we can check here from Windows Services if also the RDP services is disabled. Then you won't be able to see it to connect. So you can see remote desktop services is running. So sometimes also this gets blocked by antivirus or a firewall and so on. Of course, you can check if there is a firewall enabled. Sometimes we do just disable everything and then try to see, okay, if this is going to be the firewall issue. Many cases antivirus just block it and then they have to whitelist this kind of stuff. So maybe you stop the service of the antivirus and so on. But you can see we have like a full connection to that VM without having remote desktop to be enabled. So now we have fixed the problem for now. So we have validated the VM is up and running, all good. Now what we will do is we are going to shut down this virtual machine and then deattach it, and then now you swap the broken one. So what we will do here is we are going to shut down the VM. I will pause the video and then come back. All right, so the VM has turned off successfully, so no harm here. So broken VM is off. My disk is already offline, so I don't need to take any action here. It's just if you right click it will online. We don't want to online that disk. So what we will do now is go back to the Azure portal and then detach that disk. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on that little guy on the right here to detach this disk. So we're gonna click here and then apply. So now what we have done, we detached the now fixed disk, and then we have to swap the operating system disk. Now the VM updated successfully. If we go back to disks, we will see here that we have the healing OS and then the broken disk. Okay. So this is the old one. This is the currently attached one. I want to swap it with the healed or the healing OS disk. So what we will do is we go back under virtual machine and then make sure, of course, the virtual machine is stopped. So we click on the broken VM and then we scroll all the way down to disks on the left here. And then we have to click on that option, swap operating system disk. So what we will do here is I'm going to select an existing one, and then I will select my healing OS disk, which is under all disks. Okay, it's the same here. So I will just select this guy and then confirm by type the name of the broken VM. Let me just read this. Confirm you want to swap the OS by entering the name of the broken VM. So I will have to type broken to confirm. This is the VM name, and then click OK. Alright, so the swap disk is complete. Let's now start again that virtual machine. So what I will do now is I'm going to start this VM, and then I will shut down my the other virtual machine to save cost. So just right click, shut down, and then click on continue. Now problem is solved. So we will see now after this is up and running. But now you know, helper VM should always be in your Azure subscription. You can always switch it off and then use it when for temporary, or for problems like that might have happen in your subscription. Remember, this is a support technique. So like even if you raise a ticket, the support engineers are going to direct you to that. In case if there is no other options, there are many options that you troubleshoot RDP issues. We will cover in the upcoming videos, but I wanted to show you this directly because this is one of the most powerful ones. And even during my time at AWS, I wished we have that option to have like a nested virtualization option that you can use it on top of the cloud, but there was no option. But now we have that one here at Microsoft, so thankfully you can use it, and it's much easier to troubleshoot things like Linux. You can create a Linux VM, you can create a Windows VM, can pretty much fix anything you want. So now the Hyper-V VM that we have shut down is now stopped, and then the broken VM is up and running. So if I go back to the broken VM and under the boot diagnostics, just to check here if the VM is up and running. Yeah, it's up and running, so all good. Now what we will do here is I'm going to use the the primary NIC public IP because I'm connecting now from a different network. So we'll just go here and then paste and then click connect. So this is just showing here the login, and then as you can see, I'm now successfully able to connect back to my virtual machine after we swapped the operating system disk. I hope this this workaround is helpful for you. I want you to try it out yourself, and I will also leave the whole troubleshooting steps here. I split it into 2 videos because I don't want this to be an hour or so. But the first step is to enable Hyper-V. How would you select your virtual machine family that supports nested virtualization? And then step 2 is how would you troubleshoot the faulty operating system disk. And this is exactly what we have done. So we have followed this documentation from Microsoft, and I will leave it also on the description below. As you can see, we are able to connect to our broken operating system and all is working good. If I go back here, if I click on the disk, we will see now that the new disk is Healing OS. If we go to under disks, we will see that the broken is no longer has an owner, and then now the new one is got an owner. You can delete the older one here. So we can just go from here and then delete. And then also you can delete your snapshots to avoid any extra charges. So I highly recommend that you do not forget that after you fix the issue. Normally IT will run away, but for us we have to delete this to make sure that you're saving cost and you're not wasting money. I hope this video was useful for you. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.